Okay, now to continue with chapter 6 of First Kings, and we're talking about the building of the temple that um, Solomon wants to do for God, that David wanted to do, but God said that your son will do it, not you, because you've been a man of war and he's a man of peace. Building the temple in a time of peace by a man of peace is very important to God, because he is a God of peace. Now, he will go to war if he has to. He will do wrath and vengeance if he has to, but he also wants to be a God of peace, of order, of pattern. So here we have Hiram is hired by Solomon, and he has the workers and he's got the stuff, and they have this quid pro quo. They create this where's my brain? They make this league together, business arrangement is what I was wanting to say. So we're talking about how the description of the temple. Once again, I'll show this picture. It's a very good picture. It's one of the best that I like. Gives you an idea. You can find all kinds of videos on what the temple looks like, and they'll go inside and all this kind of stuff. All of that is speculative, but many of it is proper. There's nothing improper about it. Again, for my discussion, I'm going to say feet instead of cubits. We're going to build in our mind just a basic understanding using feet instead of cubits. So if it seems smaller in your head, it will be. But But if you really wanted to go and work it out, 20 answers to the cubit, and get yourself a better or stronger idea, feel free to do so. So again, using feet as cubits, he's 60 by 30 by 20 feet, and another 20 feet for a porch that they created with steps that go up. We also have, they're going to make a chamber inside the ark, inside the building, where you have two rooms. The place for the Ark of the Covenant will be called a chamber, and he talks about that here. They made lights, they made windows across the top, little ones, so light could come in, so natural light could be in there. And so it talks about how they covered the cedar above, and they have beams, and they laid 45 pillars in 15 rows. So then you're starting to raise the thing. They're going to have beams and pillars. You get the idea of pillars holding it up, of stone and wood holding it up. So you have stone and wood together, and then they're going to overlay that with cedar on both sides, then cover the insides with gold. You get an idea of what they're doing here. So you have the framework is cedar, then stone is put between the cedars to build walls, and then you'll have cedars going across. Then cedar wood will be laid across the top. Cedar wood will be laid across the inside of the roof, and then cover the whole thing on the inside with gold. So he talks about the cedars and the post and everything in 4 and 5. He talks about the pillars in 6. He talks about this chamber that they're making to put the Ark of the Covenant in, to separate it from the holy place. This is the Holy of Holies. So we're talking about that. He gives the dimensions there. And so they built this porch for the throne where he might judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar on one side, the floor to the other. So we're dealing with, again, a lot of cedar wood. Man, how that place must have smelled good. You know, the cedar wood. It also talked, and in his house where he dwelt was another court with a porch. So, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Let me go back a step. So, the nethermost chamber was 5 cubits abroad, and the middle was 6 cubits. So they're going to make a 5 by 6 room. And again, if you were to work out the 20s here, the differences. But it's a basically a 5 by 6, so it's more of a rectangular room, sideways rectangular room. That's 5 by 6, and there they'll put the Ark of the Covenant and the cherubim. I mean, it doesn't have to be that big. One man's going to go in there, you know. So a 5 by 6 room would be fine. But again, you'll be spreading it out if you do the math correctly. So the nethermost chamber was made, and the house, when it was built of stone, made ready, and it was brought thither, so that there was neither axe or hammer nor axe nor any iron tool in the house while it was building. So they built the parts out away from the site. Like I said, the door to the middle chamber was on the right side of the house. And they built the house and finished it and covered it with beams of boards and cedars. So they erected this thing pretty quickly, setting it up, and then starting putting the wood on the inside that covers the stone, so no stone was seen. You know, and the idea is, again, covering it so all you see is cedar in there. And they did cedar for a reason we'll find out in a minute. And he built the chambers against all the houses, and he talks about it. Concerning the house which thou art building, here's a beautiful thing. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I get so excited when I read this that I lose place of where I am. God comes and talks to him, and he's cool about this. Remember when God came as the captain of the Lord host and to lead Joshua? He also comes as the master builder here. Okay, he wants to look it over. Imagine him coming down wearing a hard hat and with plans under his arms, He's down there. Concerning the house which thou art building, so here he is on the job site. God's on the job site. He was leader of the nation. He's the king, captain of the Lord's host, leading the military. Now he's on the job site. This isn't just Solomon building God's house. This is God building God's house through Solomon. But he tells him, if you'll walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep my commandments, then I will perform my work with thee, which I spoke unto David, and I will dwell among the people. There's no sense to make this if you're not going to keep my judgments. If you're not going to keep my commandments, there's no reason to build this. It's kind of what he's saying. But he's reminding him this is the responsibility of me being with you. I'm not going to be with you just because you made this cool house. I'm going to be with you because you keep my commandments. And I will dwell with those people. I'll not forsake them. This is a good thing for God to say and a good thing for Solomon to remember. We tend to think sometimes we build our house and say, God, come on in. He goes, well, there's some problems here. But I made something beautiful for you. That's not the issue. You're not following me. And so he's starting to build the house, and we get into more of this. He built the walls of the house with boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls and the ceiling, and he covered them inside with wood and covered the wood with planks of fir. And he built 20 cubits on the side of the house and built the floor and the boards of the cedars. He built it, even the oracle, the place where they called upon God, even in the most holy place. So everything, so again, this is a pretty simple building. Brick and wood, cedar inside and out, and then cedar on the outside, cedar on the inside, and then the inside is covered with it's going to be covered with gold. What they do before they cover it with gold is they'll make etchings inside of the wood. They'll go in there and carve things into the wood. They'll carve cherubims. They'll carve palm trees. They'll carve flowers, open-ended flowers. It's a very aesthetically beautiful place, and it'll be etchings where the wall comes out a little bit because of the it's not just going to be a flat board. It's going to have etchings, and it's going to have these things. It's going to be artistic with that gold covering all of it. It'll be a beautiful place to be in. And so it's not just a square room with planks, it's kind of nondescript. It looks like a bachelor's apartment, there's nothing in there, not even a picture. He puts pictures on the walls. He has pictures all over the walls. It's a beautiful place. It was completely aesthetically pleasing. So he's making this, and he talks about the cedar. They carved in knobs and open flowers, all the cedars, and there was no stone seat. Again, what I'm saying, they covered it all with cedar, then got guys in there. This is before it's been sanctified, so the Levites can go in there and the workers can go in there and etch things. They even put etchings when they make the doors. We're going to find that in a minute. The doors to open it up had etchings on the inside and the outside. And so they did this. And the oracle they prepared within to set the Ark of the Covenant. And the oracle on the forepart was 20 cubits in length, so we get more of the dimensions on the inside. Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold. And he made a partition of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. So he creates this partition, and it's overlaid with gold. The whole house was overlaid with gold, and when he finished it all, the house, the whole altar was overlaid with gold. He is just taking the gold and just covering this whole thing inside and out with gold. It's a beautiful, wonderful imagery of how we've got stone, we have wood, and we have gold, and we have the etchings in the wood, and we have the gold, and how beautiful that is that from the wood, from the cedar that Christ was on, gets covered by the gold, representative of his blood, and how beautiful that is. What is normal etchings created by man is now overlaid by the blood of Christ, by God. And I wrote here, God built his house, not man. And he talks about the cherubim. They created these cherubims to sit with their wings out. We always see this in the Ark of the Covenant. Their wings are down. But according to the Bible, he created two cherubim, and their wings would be out, so that one would touch one wall, the other one would touch the other wing, and then this wing would touch that wing, and this wing would touch this wall. So that's how they covered two of them. And their eyes would be down, looking at the Ark of the Covenant. God out of respect and honor. They're not looking at you. The angels are looking at God. The angels are not looking at us. The angels are only doing what God says, and the angels are looking at this, and you have these holy cherubim looking down at the mercy seat, which I've explained before. The mercy seat looks like a throne. It's not this little thing created by, Steven Spielberg. It's a chair. It's a mercy seat on top of the Ark of the Covenant, which is inside of this box covered with gold, and these cherubim to the sides, and it's built like a throne. It even has the height of a throne. So we have these, and he talks about making them, and the height of the cubit was 10, and so was the other cherubim, so they were 10 feet, 10 cubits tall, and he set the cubits within on the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubim, so the wings of one touched one wall, and the wing of the other touched the other wall, and the wings touched one another, just like I said. And he overlays the cherubim with gold. Again, how beautiful this place would be. And here where we talk from 29 to 36, he talks about how they did the carvings. Before they overlay it with gold, they go in and carve into the wood. They carve all of these, they carve specific things. It's not just, putting in animals like, an elephant or something. They did beautiful flowers that were opened. They did palm trees. They did cherubim. He carved on the walls figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers within and without. And all the floor of the house he covered with gold within and without. And on the entering of the oracle he made doors of the olive tree. And there was a fifth part of the wall, and the two doors were of olive tree, and he carved them with cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. Again, these doors would have the same thing, and they made these doors out of olive tree. Must have been lighter, I guess, or something, where you can move them in, open them up, and go out. And again, when you get in there and closed it up, it's almost like a virtual reality. Think about that for a second. You're in a place where there's light coming in from the top, there's light coming in from 7 candles, you have gold filling the room, and the light reflects off the gold, and you shut the door, and just for a second you are completely enclosed. If you forget for a second where the door is, again, much like a virtual reality, if you are in a place, you are in it's like you stepped into heaven. And now if you're the high priest, you get to go into the mercy seat and see God in heaven. And there's no door, there's one entrance way, and you're in there for a while, and it just, again, virtual reality. It's crazy how this thing is designed. And the 2 doors were fir, and he carved with them cherubims and palm trees. So this thing was very precise. It was very exact. I may have misspoke. I'm not seeing where they put cedar on the outside. I'm going to go back and research that. I did say cedar on the outside, cedar on the inside. I might have been wrong about the cedar on the outside. I'm going to go back and look at that. I'll let you know if I'm wrong. But here we have these cherubims, and he built the inner court. We haven't even got to the rest of the area. The building of the altar, the sea, the setting up of the chambers and the courts on the outside. We're going to cover that. We're going to be going over plans for a few days. But hold on tight. We'll keep going back to Kings. But we're going to stick with the building of God's house for a while. And so he built the inner court, 3 rows of hewed stones and rows of cedar beams. And in the 4th year was the foundation laid. And in the 11th year, 7 years, which was in the 8th month, which was 7.5 years. But anything in the 7th year is considered a 7th year thing. They're not as precise in that part. A day is a day. Don't get me lost on that. I'm not going to get into, well, a day isn't as long. But sometimes for them, they'll go ahead and put, it happened in the 8th month, but it's still considered the 7th year. So in the 7th year, in the 8th month, they finished according to all the parts, and it was 7 years in building it. Beautiful, wonderful. I mean, it's spectacular to build in your brain. Yes, watch some videos if you want. Look at the pictures in your Bible, But it's great to see the intricacy of God's design, and that he's a part of this. That man didn't build this for God. God built this for himself using man. And that's a different way for us to approach Christianity. We don't build Christianity for God by the pieces as we understand it. We go to him for the plans, and then we bring those plans down to build our houses. So build your house from the plan of God, not from your plan for God. Because your plan for God is not what he wants. He wants his plan for himself. The gospel's always been for God. God so loved the world The gospel is for him, not for us. We keep thinking the gospel is for us. The gospel is for him because he wants to bridge the gap between God and man. Now, if man doesn't want to, you can stay out. I'll take anyone, anyone poor, wretched, blind, whoever wants to come to me. I will not cast them out. So see the similarities here. Do the grid work. This is some great stuff. Thank you.